I spent years in the library teaching myself accounting, finance, and administration. Nobody showed me the ropes. I figured it all out on my own while raising a child by myself and scraping together enough for rent, food, medicine, and clothes. I glance at Veronica. She's examining her dinner, her usual confidence starting to crack. You know what, Veronica? I worked my way up step by step. Secretary, assistant, coordinator, manager, director. 20 long years. 20 years of sacrifices you can't even begin to picture. But I did it. Do you know how much I earn? I asked. Veronica, still staring, shook her head. $40,000 every month. The table froze. It was like someone had muted the whole room. Marcus dropped his fork. Simone's jaw fell open. Franklin just stared like I'd sprouted wings. Veronica's face went pale, lips parted. 40,000, I repeated. Every month for nearly 20 years. That's close to $10 million in gross income during my career. And that's not counting bonuses, investments, or stock. Veronica kept blinking, trying to make sense of it. You earn 40,000 a month. That's right, I said, almost casual. I'm the regional director of operations for a multinational. I look after 5 countries, manage budgets in the hundreds of millions, make decisions for more than 10,000 employees, sign contracts you couldn't even begin to read without a team of lawyers. And I do it every day. Marcus looked stunned. Mom, why didn't you ever tell me? I reached out and touched his hand. Because you didn't need to know, son. I wanted you to value hard work, not money. To become a good person, not just an heir. I know what money can do to people, and I wasn't going to let it do that to you. Simone piped up almost in a whisper. Then why do you live in such a small apartment? Why dress so simply? Why don't you drive a fancy car? I smiled at her. Because I have nothing to prove to anyone. Real wealth doesn't make a show of itself. I learned a long time ago, the more you actually have, the less you need to display it. I turned to Veronica. That's why I showed up dressed like this. That's why I let you believe I was struggling. I wanted to see how you'd treat someone you thought had nothing. I wanted to see the real you. And believe me, I got a good look. Veronica's face was burning with shame, anger, humiliation. This is ridiculous, she spat. If you were earning that much, we'd know. Marcus would know. Why let him think you were poor? Because I let him, I said. I never talked about work. I live simply. I invest. I save. I grow my money quietly. I don't waste it on flashy stuff or overpriced restaurants. Franklin cleared his throat. Still, none of this excuses how rude you were or the way you misjudged us. Misjudged you? I looked at him squarely. Was it misjudging when you called me a burden to Marcus? Or when you tried to offer me $700 to vanish from his life? Was I misinterpreting those little remarks about my clothes, my job, my life? Franklin fell silent. Veronica didn't say a word. I stood up, all eyes on me now. Here, something I bet nobody told you before. Money doesn't buy class, or real education, or empathy. You might have money, maybe even lots, but you don't have a single drop of what actually counts. Veronica jumped to her feet, furious. And you do. You lied and made us look like fools. I didn't make you look foolish, I replied, my voice icy. You did that all on your own. I just gave you a chance to show your true selves, and you excelled. Simone's voice trembled. Mother-in-law, I didn't know. I cut her off gently. I know you didn't, but your parents did. They knew they were belittling me, and they enjoyed every minute until they realized that the poor woman they'd looked down on actually had more than they ever would. Veronica was shaking. You have no right. I have every right, I answered, because I'm Marcus' mother and I deserve respect. Not for my job or my bank account, but because I'm a human being. Something you forgot tonight. Marcus tried to soothe me. Mom, let's just go. Not yet, son. I'm not done. I fixed Veronica with one last stare. You wanted to offer me $700 a month to disappear. Let me make you a counteroffer. I'll give you $1 million right now if you can prove you've ever treated someone without money with real kindness. Veronica opened and closed her mouth, speechless. Exactly, I said. You can't. To you, a person's value starts and ends with their net worth. That's the difference between us. I built my wealth, you just spend yours. I earned respect, you buy it. I have dignity, you have bank accounts. I pulled my old canvas tote from the floor and took out my company credit card. Black Platinum Unlimited Limit. I dropped it on the table in front of Veronica. Pay for the dinner with a nice tip. Consider it a gift from the broke and naive mother. Veronica recoiled from the card like it was poisonous. Black, shiny, name engraved in silver. Aller Sterling, Regional Director. When she picked it up, her hand shook. She stared at me, something entirely new in her eyes. Fear. "I don't need your money," she whispered, choking a little. "I know, but I never asked for your pity either, and yet you served it up all night. So you can take my card as simple gesture of civility, something all those trips to Europe didn't seem to teach you." Franklin slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. This is out of control. You're disrespecting us. Respect." I almost laughed. Funny you mention it now. Where was your respect when your wife asked if my salary was enough to survive? When she called me a burden? When she tried to buy me off? Franklin tightened his jaw. Veronica only wanted to help. No, Veronica wanted control. She wanted to get rid of me so her precious daughter's perfect image wouldn't be tainted. She picked the wrong target this time. I turned to Simone. She hung her head, hands trembling in her lap. "Simone," I said gently. She met my eyes, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry. I didn't know my parents—" "Don't finish that sentence," I interrupted. "You knew how your parents are. You might not have known about my money, but you knew exactly how they treat people they think are beneath them. And you let them." Simone sobbed. "They're my parents," she whispered. I nodded. "And Marcus is my son. But I let him chart his own life. That's love, freedom, not control, not money, not manipulation." Marcus hugged me, asking for forgiveness for never knowing, for making assumptions. I hugged him back. "You don't need to apologize. I did this for you, to help you become independent, to value what matters, to build a life for yourself, so you'd never depend on me. You needed to care about others. Those lessons are more valuable than money." Marcus squeezed my hand tighter. "I'm so sorry." Veronica was stiff with anger, eyes locked on me. "This doesn't change anything," she insisted. "You lied, you deceived us. You acted in bad faith." I nodded. "True, I acted, I played a part. Pretended to be something I'm not, just like you do every day." Franklin glared. "What's that supposed to mean?" "I mean you hide behind your money, your jewelry, your trips, everything you can buy. But inside, there's nothing. No real conversations, no real interests, nothing but your balance." Veronica laughed bitterly. "Coming from a liar, that's rich." "Maybe so," I said, "but my lie just unmasked the truth. Your truth. Now you can't hide. I saw everything, felt every advice. I'll never forget it." Just then the waiter approached, unsure. "Would you like anything else?" Franklin shook his head. "Just the bill." The waiter left. Veronica wilted in her chair, the queen dethroned. She had lost. Not her money, but her power. She finally spoke, voice softer, defeated. "Ara, I don't want this to wreck our families. Marcus and Simone love each other. This shouldn't break us apart." I interrupted. "Break what?" "Your plans, your vision for my silence." "Too late, the damage is done. We can fix it," she insisted. "We can start over." "No, we can't. Now you know who I am, and I know who you are. That can't be scrubbed away by empty apologies or fake grins. You treated me like dirt because you thought you could." Franklin tried again. "You started this. You lied." I nodded. "I did, because I needed to be sure. To know if my suspicions were true. That you people measure worth by possessions, not by character." Veronica wiped away a tear. "We're not bad people." "Maybe not," I said, "but you're definitely not good. There's a huge difference." The waiter returned with the check. No one made a move for it. Veronica glanced at my card. "I'm not using this," she muttered. "We'll pay our own way like always." "Good," I answered. "Then keep that card as a souvenir, a reminder that not everything is as it seems, that the woman you ignored all night had more than you ever will. And I don't just mean money." Veronica put down the card, shaking her head. "I don't want it or your lecture." I pushed the card back to her. "Keep it. You'll need the reminder one day when you fall for the same mistake with someone else." Franklin sighed and reached for his wallet, flashing a handful of gold cards. He picked one, set it down. The waiter took it and disappeared. We sat in a heavy silence. Simone cried. Marcus held my hand. Veronica stared without seeing. Franklin pretended to check messages, eyes anywhere but here. The waiter returned. "Sir, your card was declined." Franklin stiffened. "What?" The waiter repeated it. "Do you have another?" Franklin flushed deep red. "That can't be." He handed over another card. The waiter left. Veronica kept glancing at her husband. "What's going on?" He barked under his breath. "Must be a bank error. Happens sometimes when you travel." I nodded, acting sympathetic. "Sure, these things happen." The waiter returned. "I'm sorry, sir." That one declined, too. Franklin shot to his feet. "This is ridiculous. I'm calling the bank." He stormed outside, phone to ear. Veronica stayed seated, small and mortified. This never happens, never. Terrible timing, I replied, not hiding my indifference. Marcus reached for the check. Mom, I can. No, you're not paying. I pulled out my battered wallet. This time I set down a heavy, transparent metal card. Veronica recognized it instantly. That's a Centurion card. Yes, American Express invites you. You can't request one. $250,000 minimum annual spend, $5,000 annual fee, and perks you can't buy in any store. The waiter handled this one reverently, came back quickly. Thank you, Miss Sterling. It's all taken care of. Would you like the receipt? Not necessary. The waiter left. Veronica stared at the spot where the card had sat. I rose, grabbed my things, and gave Veronica one final, lingering look. Dinner was great. Thank you for the restaurant tip and for showing me exactly who you are. You've saved me a lot of time and disappointment in the future. Veronica's eyes were red and angry. This isn't over, she whispered. You can't just humiliate us and walk out. Simone is our daughter. Marcus is our son-in-law. We're still family. You're right, I smiled. I'll see you at family events, holidays. Only difference is, now I know exactly what you're thinking. And you know that I know. Every smile, every get-together, you'll remember tonight. Franklin came back, phone in hand, face drained. There's a temporary security block on the accounts. It'll be cleared up tomorrow. He looked at the table. Did someone pay? She did, Veronica said quietly. Franklin looked at me, his pride was gone. Thank you, he managed. You're welcome, I said. That's what family's for. Sometimes someone just needs a little help, maybe $700 or $800, which happens to be what this dinner cost. Franklin closed his eyes. Veronica's fists were tight in her lap. Marcus tugged my arm. Mom, let's go, it's enough, I nodded. You're right. I turned to Simone, who was still silently crying. Simone. She raised her head. You're not responsible for your parents. Nobody chooses their family, but you get to decide how you treat people, how you'll raise your own kids one day. Simone nodded, wiping her tears. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't apologize again. Just learn. Money can't define people. Humility isn't weakness. Respect costs nothing. If you have children, teach them to recognize hearts, not accounts. Simone's sobs grew louder. Marcus held her tight. Veronica looked away. Franklin scrolled mindlessly. I walked to the door, paused, and turned back. Oh, Veronica, one last thing. She looked at me. Remember when you said you speak 4 languages? Veronica frowned. What's that got to do with anything? Just curious. Which of those languages taught you kindness? Because it clearly wasn't any of them. Veronica opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Exactly, I said. You can speak 100 languages and still have nothing to say that matters. I walked out. Marcus followed. The night air felt sharp and clean. Like something heavy had been lifted off me, not physical, but the weight of pretending and tolerating and staying quiet. Marcus slipped his arm around mine. Mom, are you okay? Perfect, I told him. Better than ever. And you, Marcus, he sighed. I don't know. I can't believe you never told me. About your work, your money, everything. I stopped and looked at him. Does it bother you? He shook his head. No, I'm amazed, proud, but also a little embarrassed. You're not foolish, I told him. You just saw what I wanted you to see. I needed you to grow without thinking there was a safety net waiting. I wanted you to value what you built. Marcus got it. I understand. And now I realize why you never asked for anything, never seemed worried. You already had what you needed. I smiled. I needed a lot, son. None of it money. I needed to watch you grow, become a good man, make choices you could live with. And I did that. Even marrying Simone, he asked quietly. Even marrying Simone, I replied, she's not her parents. She can change. That's up to both of you and the choices you make. We stood by the curb. Our ride appeared. I opened the door. Marcus stopped me. Mom, why did you do it? Why show up as someone you're not? Why not just tell the truth from the start? I closed the cab door. Because I had to know, son. I needed to be sure my instincts were right about Simone's family. And they were. Marcus looked down. I'm sorry. You don't owe apologies for them. But you do have to decide what kind of husband, what kind of father you want to be. What do you mean? He asked. Before. Library. I learned accounting, finance, administration. I became an expert in things no one taught me, all on my own, all while raising a child alone, all while paying rent, food, medicine, and clothes. Veronica was staring at her plate. Her arrogance was starting to crumble. And you know what happened, Veronica? I climbed up little by little from secretary to assistant, from assistant to coordinator, from coordinator to manager, from manager to director. It took me 20 years. 20 years of nonstop, work of sacrifices you can't even imagine, but I did it. And do you know how much I earn now? I asked. Veronica shook her head. $40,000 a month. The silence was absolute, as if someone had hit a pause button on the universe. Marcus dropped his fork. Simone's eyes went wide. Franklin frowned in disbelief, and Veronica froze, her mouth slightly open. $40,000, I repeated, every month for almost 20 years. That's almost $10 million in gross income over my career. Not counting investments, not counting bonuses, not counting company stock. Veronica blinked several times. No, I don't understand. You earn $40,000 a month. That's right, I replied calmly. I am the regional director of operations for a multinational corporation. I oversee 5 countries. I manage budgets of hundreds of millions of dollars. I make decisions that affect more than 10,000 employees. I sign contracts that you couldn't read without lawyers. And I do it every day. Marcus was pale. Mom, why did you never tell me? I looked at him tenderly. Because you didn't need to. No, son, because I wanted you to grow up valuing effort, not money. Because I wanted you to become a person, not an heir, because money corrupts and I wasn't going to let it corrupt you. But then, Simone whispered, why do you live in that small apartment? Why do you wear simple clothes? Why don't you drive a luxury car? I smiled. Because I don't need to impress anyone. Because true wealth isn't shown off. Because I learned that the more you have, the less you need to prove it. I looked at Veronica. That's why I came dressed like this tonight. That's why I pretended to be poor. That's why I acted like a broke and naive woman. I wanted to see how you would treat me if you thought I had nothing. I wanted to see your true colors. And boy, did I see them, Veronica. I saw them perfectly. Veronica was red with shame, rage, and humiliation. This is ridiculous. If you earned so much money, we would know. Marcus would know. Why would he believe you are poor? Because I let him, I replied, because I never talked about my job, because I live simply. Because the money I earn, I invest, I save, I multiply. I don't spend it on flashy jewelry or showing off in expensive restaurants. Franklin cleared his throat. Even so, this doesn't change the fact that you were rude, that you misinterpreted our intentions. Really? I looked at him fixedly. I misinterpreted when you said I was a burden to Marcus. I misinterpreted when you offered to pay me $700 to disappear from his life. I misinterpreted every condescending comment about my clothes, my job, my life. Franklin didn't answer. Neither did Veronica. I stood up. Everyone looked at me. Let me tell you something that clearly no one has ever told you. Money does not buy class. It does not buy real education. It does not buy empathy. You have money, perhaps a lot, but you don't have an ounce of what truly matters. Veronica stood up, furious. And you do. You who lied, who deceived us, who made us look like fools. I didn't make you look like fools, I replied coldly. You took care of that all on your own. I just gave you the opportunity to show who you are, and you did it magnificently. Simone had tears in her eyes. Mother-in-law, I didn't know. I know, I interrupted her. You didn't know. But your parents knew exactly what they were doing. They knew they were humiliating me, and they enjoyed it until they discovered that the poor woman they scorned has more money than they do, and now they don't know what to do with that information. Veronica trembled. You have no right. I have every right, I replied. Because I am your son-in-law's mother, because I deserve respect. Not because of my money, not because of my job, but because I am a human being, something you forgot throughout this entire dinner. Marcus stood up. Mom, please, let's go. I looked at him. Not yet, son. I'm not finished yet. I looked at Veronica one last time. You offered to help me with $700 a month. Let me make you a counter-offer. I will give you $1 million right now if you can prove to me that you ever treated someone kindly who didn't have money. Veronica opened her mouth, closed it, and said nothing. Exactly, I replied. You can't, because to you, people are only worth what they have in the bank. And that is the difference between you and me. I built wealth, you just spend it. I earned respect, you buy it. I have dignity. You have bank accounts. I picked up my old canvas tote. I pulled out a black platinum credit card. I dropped it on the table in front of Veronica. This is my corporate card. Unlimited limit. Pay for the entire dinner with a generous tip. Consider it a gift from a broke and naive mother. Veronica looked at the card as if it were a poisonous snake. Black, shiny, with my name engraved in silver letters. Aller Sterling, Regional Director. Her hand trembled slightly when she picked it up. She turned it over, observed it, then looked at me. Her eyes no longer held that superior shine. Now there was something different, something I never thought I'd see in her. "Fear, I don't need your money," she said, her voice broken. "I know," I replied, "but I didn't need your pity either, and yet you offered it to me throughout the entire dinner. So take it as a gesture of courtesy or good manners, something you clearly didn't learn despite all your travels through Europe." Franklin gently hit the table. "Enough. This is out of control. You are disrespecting us." "Respect," I repeated. "How interesting that you use that word now. Where was your respect when your wife asked if my salary was enough to live on? Where was it when she suggested I was a burden to my son? Where was it when she offered to buy me off so I disappear?" Franklin clenched his jaw. "Veronica just wanted to help," I corrected her. "Veronica wanted to control. She wanted to ensure that the poor mother wouldn't ruin her daughter's perfect image. She wanted to eliminate the weak link in the chain. The problem is she chose the wrong link." I looked at Simone. Her head was bowed, her hands in her lap trembling. "Simone," I said softly. She looked up. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know that my parents don't finish that sentence," I interrupted her. "Because you did know. Maybe you didn't know about my money, but you knew how your parents are. You know how they treat people they consider inferior, and you did nothing to stop them," Simone sobbed. I wanted to say something, but "They are my parents." "I know," I replied. "And Marcus is my son. And yet I let him make his own decisions. I let him choose his life, his wife, his path, because that is how you love, with freedom, not with control, not with money, not with manipulation." Marcus came closer to me. "Mom, forgive me. Please forgive me for never asking, for assuming, for thinking you were." His voice cracked. I hugged him. "You don't have to apologize, son. I did what I did for a reason. I wanted you to be independent, to value the right things, not to depend on me financially to build your own life. But you made me feel like I had to protect you. Marcus said that I had to worry about you, that you were fragile." "I know," I replied. "And it wasn't wrong that you thought that, because that's how you learn to care, to worry about others, to be empathetic. Those are lessons money can't buy." Marcus hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Veronica was still standing, rigid, watching the scene with a mixture of confusion and contained rage. "This doesn't change anything." She finally said, "You lied, you deceived us, you came here with hidden intentions, you acted in bad faith." "That's true," I nodded. I pretended to be something I'm not, exactly what you do every day." "What is that supposed to mean?" Franklin asked. "It means that you hide behind your money, behind your jewels, behind your trips, behind everything you can buy, but inside you are empty. Don't have deep conversations. You don't have real interests. You have nothing to offer beyond a bank account." Veronica gave a dry, bitter laugh. "Coming from someone who lied all night, that's hypocrisy." "Perhaps," I replied, "but my lie exposed the truth. Your truth. And now you can't hide. Now you know that I saw you, that I felt every comment, that I stored every insult disguised as advice, and that I will never forget it." The waiter timidly approached. "Excuse me, would you like anything else?" Franklin shook his head abruptly. "Just the check." The waiter nodded and disappeared. Veronica sat back down, defeated. Her posture was no longer elegant. It was the posture of someone who had just lost something important. And it wasn't money, it was power. "Ara," she said in a softer, less aggressive voice, "I don't want this to ruin the relationship between our families. Marcus and Simone love each other. They have a life together. We can't let this." I interrupted her. "Let this what? Let this ruin your plans. Let this expose what you really think. It's too late for that, Veronica. The damage is done, but we can fix it," she insisted. "We can start over." "No," I cut her off firmly. "We can't, because now I know who you are and you know who I am. And that truth cannot be erased with empty apologies or fake smiles. You treated me like trash, and you did it with pleasure because you thought you could." Franklin cleared his throat. "You were the one who came here lying. You provoked this situation." "You're right," I nodded. "I provoked this because I needed to know. I needed to confirm what I already suspected, that you are not good people, that your money doesn't make you better, that you are exactly the kind of people who despise others for not having the same things." Veronica wiped away a tear. "We are not bad people." "Maybe not," I replied. "But you are definitely not good, and there is a huge difference between those two things." The waiter returned with the check and left it in the center of the table. No one touched it. Veronica looked at my black card still in her hands, then looked at me. "I'm not going to use your card," she said. "We will pay our own bill as we always do." "Perfect," I replied. "Then keep that card as a souvenir, as a reminder that not everything is as it seems, that the woman you scorned all night has more than you will ever have." And I'm not just talking about money. Veronica put the card down on the table. I don't want it. I don't want your moral lecture either. I pushed it back toward her. Keep it anyway because something tells me you'll need it. Someday you'll run into someone like me, someone who pretends to be less than they are, and you'll make the same mistake again because people like you never learn. Franklin took out his wallet, pulled out several credit cards, all golden, all shiny. He chose one and put it on the check. The waiter took it and left. No one spoke during those waiting minutes. Silence was thick, uncomfortable, and heavy. Simone cried quietly. Marcus held my hand. Veronica stared at the wall. Franklin checked his phone to avoid eye contact. The waiter returned. Sir, your card was declined. Franklin looked up abruptly. How was it declined? The waiter repeated. Declined. Do you have another form of payment? Franklin turned red. That's impossible. That card has an extremely high limit. It must be a system error. The waiter shrugged. I can try again if you like. Franklin handed him another card. The waiter left. Veronica nervously looked at her husband. What happened? I don't know, Franklin replied, irritated. It must be a bank error. Maybe they froze the account for security. It happens sometimes when you travel. I nodded with feigned understanding. Of course, those things happen. How inconvenient. The waiter returned again. I'm sorry, sir. This one was also declined. Franklin stood up. This is ridiculous. I'm calling the bank right now. He stormed. Out of the restaurant, Veronica remained seated, ashamed, humiliated. This has never happened to us, she murmured. Never. What terrible timing, I commented without emotion. Marcus looked at the check. Mom, I can know, I interrupted him. You are not paying for anything. I took out my wallet, a simple old leather wallet. I pulled out another card. This one was not black. It was transparent, made of heavy metal. A card that less than 1% of people in the world possess. I put it on the table in front of Veronica. She looked at it. Her eyes widened. She recognized what it was. That's a Centurion card. That's right, I replied. American Express exclusive invitation, minimum annual spending requirement of $250,000, $5,000 annual fee just for having it, and benefits you can never imagine. Veronica said nothing. The waiter took the card carefully as if it were something sacred. He returned in less than 2 minutes. Thank you, miss. Sterling, everything is settled. Would you like the receipt? It's not necessary, I replied. The waiter nodded and left. Veronica continued looking at the space where the card had been. I stood up, took my old wallet, my canvas tote, and looked at Veronica one last time. The dinner was delicious. Thank you for the recommendation of the place, and thank you for showing me exactly who you are. You saved me a lot of time, a lot of energy, and many future disappointments. Veronica finally looked up. Her eyes. Read more. 39:11. Were red not from crying but from contained rage. This doesn't end here, she said, her voice trembling. You can't just humiliate us and walk out as if nothing happened. Simone is our daughter. Marcus is our son-in-law. We will still be family. You will have to see us. You are right, I smiled. I will have to see you at birthdays, Christmases, and family gatherings. But now I will see you differently. I will no longer wonder what you think of me. I already know. And you will know that I know, and you will live with that. Every time you see me, every time you pretend to be kind, you will remember this night. Franklin returned to the table. His phone was in his hand. His face was pale. There's a problem with the accounts, he said. A temporary block for security. It will be resolved tomorrow. He looked at the table. Did they pay already? Yes, Veronica replied without looking at him. She paid. Franklin looked at me. His pride was shattered. Thank you, he murmured. It was barely audible. You're welcome, I replied. That's what family is for, isn't it? To help each other, especially when someone needs a small allowance, say $700 or in this case $800, which is what this dinner cost. Franklin closed his eyes. Veronica clenched her fists in her lap. Marcus approached. Mom, let's go, please. It's enough. I looked at him. You're right. It is enough. I turned to Simone. She was still crying. Quietly. Simone, I said softly. She lifted her head. You are not to blame for how your parents are. No one chooses their family, but you do choose how you act, how you treat others, how you will raise your own children someday. Simone nodded through her tears. I'm sorry, she whispered again. Don't apologize again, I told her. Just learn. Learn that money does not define people, that humility is not weakness, that respecting others costs nothing, and that if you ever have children, teach them to see the heart of people, not their bank account. Simone sobbed harder. Marcus hugged her. Veronica looked away. Franklin checked his phone again, avoiding all eye contact. I headed for the exit. I took a few steps, then stopped and turned around one last time. Ah, Veronica, one more thing. She looked at me. Do you remember when you said you speak 4 languages? Veronica frowned. What does that have to do with anything? Just curious, I replied. In which of those 4 languages did you learn to be kind? Because clearly it wasn't in any of them. Veronica opened her mouth, but no words came out. Exactly, I said. You can speak 100 different languages and still not say anything worth listening to. I walked out of the restaurant. Marcus walked beside me. The fresh night air hit my face. I breathed deeply. I felt as if a huge weight had been lifted off me. Not a physical weight, but an emotional one. The weight of pretending, of tolerating, of keeping silent. Marcus took my arm. Mom, are you okay? Perfectly fine, I replied. Better than ever. And you, Marcus, Marcus sighed. I don't know, I'm processing everything. I can't believe you never told me about your job, about your money, about everything you accomplished. I stopped and looked him in the eyes. Does it bother you? He quickly shook his head. No, of course not. I'm proud. Incredibly proud. But I also feel foolish. Blind. You are not foolish, I told him. You simply saw what I wanted you to see. And I did it on purpose, because I needed you. To grow up without depending on me, without feeling you had an economic safety net waiting for you. I needed you to fight, to work, to value everything you achieved on your own. Marcus nodded. I understand, but now I also understand why you never complained, why you never asked for help, why you always seemed so calm, because you needed nothing. I smiled. I needed many things, son. Only none of them could be bought with money. I needed to see you grow up, see you become a good man, see you make the right decisions. And I achieved that. Even marrying Simone, he asked in a weak voice. Even marrying Simone, I replied, she is not her parents. She can learn, she can change. But that depends on her and on you, on how you build your relationship, on what values you choose to follow. Marcus remained silent, processing, thinking. A taxi stopped in front of us. I had called for a ride share as we left. I opened the door. Marcus stopped me. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you do it? Why did you come pretending to be poor? Why didn't you just tell them the truth from the beginning? I closed the taxi door. I turned to him because I needed to know, son. I needed to confirm if my suspicions were correct, if Simone's family was really as I imagined. And unfortunately, I was right. Marcus lowered his gaze. I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize for them, I told him. But you do have to decide what kind of husband you want to be, what kind of father you want to be someday. What do you mean? He asked. I